Good morning, everyone. How's the sound? It's good? All right. So launching right in. There I am. So Cambridge has set a goal to achieve carbon neutrality by 2050, and also at the same time committed to have 0 fatalities and serious injuries resulting from crashes on our street network. Making it safe for people of all ages and abilities is necessary to achieve these goals. There's no way to, if the streets are not safe, this is not going to happen. And as Secretary Pollack noted yesterday, there are more than half of the trips that are made by car are under a mile. So we really have a huge opportunity for converting trips to bicycle and, of course, also to walking. These short trips lend themselves to biking, and if the streets are safe and importantly perceived to be safe, it's not enough that if people think they're not safe, then they won't ride them. But if we can achieve both, there's a huge potential here. When we analyze crash data in Cambridge, and this is a heat map of bicycle crashes in Cambridge, we see that the crashes happen on major streets. And that's because that's where most of the bicyclists are. And they're there for the very same reason that the cars are on the major streets. The major streets connect everything that we want. They connect us to schools, universities, our jobs, to retail. And if the cyclists can't be on the major streets, we're pushing them to go on routes that are much longer, which is a huge deterrent, and they won't do it. So many people would not even consider riding bikes if they perceive it to not be safe, or if you have to go far out of your way. And this explains why in this country, unlike other countries in Europe, bicycling for commuting is still in the single digits. And even in Cambridge, it's still in the single digits, even though we are in the top 5 of cities of our size in the US. That's really low. So research that we've done here in Cambridge, and these charts are from here, our surveys, but same research has been done elsewhere, shows that very few people are comfortable riding on busy streets if there are no protected or separated facilities. And conversely, as you're moving towards having better separation and more protection, people get more and more comfortable. And you can see on the left in these charts, there's no protection, and on the right, there's increasing amount of protection. And when you ask people how would they adapt to, or how interested would they be in cycling if there were protected facilities, more than 80% of cyclists in general say that they would be comfortable riding on busy streets, and almost 70% of people who normally think of themselves as very concerned and not comfortable say if such facilities existed, they would be fine with going on the streets. So the ultimate goal in Cambridge is to connect our entire network of protected and separated facilities, but progress on this has been really slow because the way we've been doing it is major reconstruction, huge expense, long-term process, and so we haven't really been advancing. But last year, and sadly, as a result, in part of 2 cycling facilities that happened, city leadership made a decision that we really have to accelerate this pace. And we have to accelerate action on safety, but we also have to accelerate safety on greenhouse gas emissions. And what we did in under 12 months was to create protected facilities on 5 streets using only paint and plastic stanchions, as you can see in this picture. The photograph is from Cambridge Street, which was one of the longest segments. And this street leads directly to the city's high school complex, where hundreds of youth ride their bike to school every day. And this was the street segment that was selected because it had a higher than average crash rate. So really important. So the project was made possible by removing half of the parking on the street, sort of alternating sides. And This parking served both residents that have no off-street parking and adjacent institutions and also small-scale retail. So how could this be done? We did a lot of detailed parking studies, and it showed there was actually enough parking for overnight use for residents. And we created some additional meters on the street to accommodate retail. The impact was immediate. Number of cyclists went up, both during typical school hours and during commuting times. In fact, there was a 60% increase between the hour of 6 and 7 p.m. It's too early to assess the impact on crashes, but we also know that speeds have gone down, and there's always a direct correlation with vehicle speed and crash rate and crash severity. There has been some concern expressed about what would the impact be on retail from taking away some of the parking, but we know from research that's done elsewhere that cyclists tend to shop and spend more money locally than people who have access to a car. And we're hoping to work with 7 other cities in the coming year to do more research on what is the connection between installation and bike facilities and the impact on retail. And directly to your question, this is something that needs more help and more analysis. So I would call for research support on that question of the direct connection between what happens when you replace parking spaces for cars with more cyclists. And that's it.
Okay, Susanne, thank you. So for our next 5-minute presentation, my pleasure to introduce Sandhya Murali from SOLSTICE and an MIT Sloan alum, so great to have you. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. It's a little loud. My name is Sandhya Murali, and I'm one of the co-founders of SOLSTICE. Our mission is to expand access to clean energy to everyone in the US. It's no surprise to this group that solar is now at certain scales cost competitive with fossil fuels, and new technologies such as battery storage are poised to unleash further growth. But there remains a problem. The fact is that about 90 million households still can't access the rooftop residential solar market. That's about 77% of the population, and that's because they rent or don't own the roof of their house. There are structural issues such as shading, or their roof is facing the wrong way, or there are financial obstacles. They don't have the right credit to be able to have the upfront capital or credit profile to buy or lease a system. Fortunately, there's a solution. It's called community shared solar. Under this model, any household can sign up for a portion of a shared solar garden that's sited in their neighborhood. The electricity gets sent back to the grid, and customers see a discount show up on their electric bill each and every month. They can save about 10 to 15%. There's no upfront cost and no rooftop required. And this is the solution that we see as democratizing access to clean energy. Our model is based on growing the community solar market and ensuring anyone can participate. We partner with project developers who finance and build these projects, and then we engage community organizations to get their members and constituencies connected to a local solar garden. And if there's one thing we've learned, it's that solar isn't going to be sold through stranger-to-stranger contact. It's going to be sold through personal networks and trusted connections that already exist in the community. Our focus is entirely on customers, how to get more solar into more communities and make sure everyone can participate. We've generated demand for about 23 megawatts of solar in both Massachusetts and New York, and our customers couldn't be more excited. This is Reverend Paul Sprecher from the First Parish Unitarian Church in Bridgewater, Massachusetts. The church is an historical building, and so they couldn't install panels on their rooftop. So they had been signed up with a renewable energy program through their utility. So they're paying a few cents more per kilowatt hour for clean energy. When they heard about community solar through Solstice, they were incredibly excited, and the board immediately approved the church's participation. And so now they're saving money, and we even got a handful of their parishioners to sign up as well for their individual households, and so they're all saving money as well. And finally, I want to touch on a project we're working on that's pushing the boundaries of inclusivity in the community solar market. So most of these projects, for financing reasons, require consumers who participate to have a minimum FICO credit score of around 650 to 700, which obviously limits the size of the market and excludes over half of the population. So with generous support from the Department of Energy and in partnership with academics here at MIT and at Stanford, we are looking at developing an alternative qualification metric, because we think FICO represents an imperfect proxy for assessing whether someone is going to default on their utility bills. We think if a low credit or credit invisible customer pays their utility bills on time, why can't they be trusted to participate and receive discounted electricity from their local community solar garden? So we're developing what we're calling the ENERGYSCORE, and then we'll be rolling out a series of pilot projects to test it in the real world. So we gained access to nearly 500,000 records of anonymized data and developed the score, which is comprised primarily of utility payment history, as well as some other demographic fact and financial characteristics. And we found that the ENERGYSCORE, as compared to FICO, is more accurate in predicting the risk of defaulting on your energy bills, and is more inclusive of qualified low-income populations. And so these are households earning less than $50,000 a year. We're really excited about the potential for the ENERGYSCORE to really push the number of people who can actually qualify for community solar and get access to the savings that you can now see through clean energy. Our vision is that anyone in the US should be able to sign up for clean energy regardless of where they live or how much money they make. And slowly but surely, we are making that dream a reality. Thank you.